The difference between highly compensated individuals or wealthy individuals and non is that most of the time we don't look for ways to cut minutia expenses. I mean, sure, I'd love to do it every once in a while just to make sure you're having good fiscal responsibility and you're not spending good money after bad for things you don't use.
I.e. our 17-year-old's DoorDash habit is one that we had to get under control.
Exactly. But, you got to, if you want better things and you want nicer things and you want things, you got to make more money. So you got to find ways to make more income.
This is Married to the Startup, where marital bliss meets entrepreneurial mayhem. George and Alicia have spent over a decade juggling 5 kids, multiple startups, and a surprising amount of free time. On each episode, they'll dish on the triumphs and meltdowns that come with mixing family and startups, from the boardroom to the bedroom. No topic is off limits. Real and raw. Real and raw. And now your hosts, George, the CEO who traded the corporate grind for sleepless nights and investor tantrums, and Alicia, who swapped a peaceful life for the roller coaster of coaching entitled founders. This is Married to the Startup, where love meets chaos and entrepreneurship reigns supreme.
Welcome to Married to the Startup. I am your host, Alicia McKenzie, and my husband is here with me today.
Hello.
Your name is?
George McKenzie. Is this like an interrogation? Do I need to get my lawyer present?
You mean our lawyer? All right, so we have a few good topics on the list today, starting with one of my all-time favorite topics. And this is the difference between starting a business versus keeping a business going and taking it home all the way to acquisition. So we have a little bit of experience on the subject, meaning that we've started several and taken how many to acquisition?
3.
Does that include the gym?
Yeah, I would say 3, including the gym.
Okay. Yeah. So we've taken 3 businesses to acquisition, but I think everybody comes to you and is like, I want to start a business. What should I do? And you say,
don't. No. I think, I talk to people a lot about it, but everyone has a great idea that could be a multi-million-dollar business. Those ideas are not unique to the individuals that have been successful in it. Everyone does. It's the ability to follow through and do it. And some of the things that I talk to people about is you have to be prepared to sacrifice and do all the hard work that's required to run a business. It's super exciting to say, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. And there's lots of people that do that and say, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. And then they have a business that lasts really, it's running for 3 months and then it falls apart. And then they start another one and then it's 3 months, or they pivot it and do something else. And come tax time, they realize they haven't done any of the books and there's no back-end accounting. There's no real thought process. And maybe they took the time to write a business plan. Maybe they didn't. I'm not sure that's 100% required. I mean, I think if you're going for loans or you're looking to bring in outside capital, those things are probably important. But for most of the businesses we did, we were self-funded or bootstrapped. The business plan was less important to be perfectly documented, but it was more of finding our way through, especially in the first one, figuring out what are all the things you have to do. Incorporating a business is relatively easy these days. Getting an EIN is easy.
Let's say you incorporate a business. What state? The state you live in, or what is the state that everybody chooses, and why do they choose it?
I think for a long time, everyone chose Delaware, but I think times are changing now. Nevada is a big one. I think Texas is becoming a bigger one. And if you listen to Elon Musk, don't never incorporate in Delaware because, they limited his CEO compensation through the court system there, but it was really business friendly because of the laws in which you could sue a company, and the representation or the liability therein for the company was greater in Delaware. But I think those times have changed. Just about every state is good. But
so you incorporate a business in Nevada, you don't have to live in Nevada.
No, you just have to have a registered agent, which there are companies that perform that service for you. But at the end of the day, it's having grown several companies, especially depending on if you have employees and where those employees live, it gets incredibly complicated. And then post-COVID, it's even more complicated because states have realized that when my workforce doesn't go into an office anymore, then my workforce is everywhere. So the people that live in, let's say, Tennessee used to go and work every day in an office in Tennessee. So it made it easy to collect sales taxes, easy to collect corporate business taxes because the company was operating at a facility in Tennessee. Now the workforce is still in Tennessee, but the business they're working for may be in Virginia, and Virginia is collecting all those corporate taxes from the entity that's performing the work in Virginia. However, all the employees that are doing the work live in Tennessee. Sure, they're collecting the, state income taxes, but they're not able to tax the corporation in the same way. So, those things are changing, in which now you have to file SUA, and you have to file,
what's SUA?
State unemployment insurance.
Cool.
And you have to file, all your business related tax forms in every state in which you operate, which before was every state in which you had an office. Now it's every state in which you have an employee. You have to have a business and file taxes. So
it gets really messy.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's complicated. And I think it was one of the things I was talking about with someone, I think earlier this week. And it's a proverb that I'm sure I butcher every time I say it. But it goes something like, chop wood, carry water, search for enlightenment. Find enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Right. So it's really around all the little things that you have to do in life, the mundane stuff, just like in a business, doing taxes, filing income tax reports, dealing with employees, doing journal entries, doing the email checks every night, all that mundane, chopping wood and carrying water. You have to do it. Even when it's successful, when it's not successful, all those things still have to be done. So it's easy to say, oh, I'm going to, really Roger up and do this for the first 6 months. And then the business is doing great. I'm amazing. I'm a podcast superstar. I get away from doing all the mundane stuff, but you can't. Those things are always going to be there, and you have to do it all the time.
It definitely never ends. And starting a business is fun, right? You do all the fun stuff. You create the website, you pick the logos, you do the swag, you do all of this great, fun, glittery stuff. But at the end of the day, it's the sitting down and having to go through spreadsheets and having to go through bank statements and making sure that everything lines up, and then realizing, holy shit, it's March 22nd and we didn't file any of the extensions for any of our businesses this year.
It's that, and it's checking the checking account every day, running payroll, dealing with disgruntled employees if you have it, but checking the mail.
Okay, so that's
getting business insurance.
I feel like that's more of a male-driven business. You see a lot of women starting businesses like, what was the skincare one that
Amway?
You're definitely dating yourself there. Oh my gosh, Rodan and Fields.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of MLMs, and everyone is a girl boss. And I'm just going to state this right here. The number one way to piss me off is to call me a mompreneur or a girl boss. Those cutesy terms.
What about a girly girl boss?
Oh my God. You are not a fitness girly. You're not a business girly. You are a grown ass woman. Stop referring to yourself as a girly. It drives me insane. We have all these cutesy terms when it comes to women in business, and, oh, you go be that girl boss. No, stop.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts.
Yeah, you don't hear a lot of bro boss or
right.
He's such a boy boss.
You don't hear men referring
to fatherpreneur.
Yeah, you're not a dadpreneur. Like, that's not a thing. Why does it have to be a thing for women? Like, it drives me insane. Like, if you want to be taken seriously, stop referring to yourself as that bullshit. Anyways,
yeah, no, I agree. I think you're bringing yourself and your brand down, right? You're saying I'm not as good as, or I'm not as professional as. I am a mom who's doing this thing on the side. So I'm a mompreneur.
Yeah. Who's the CEO of Spanx? Sarah something, but she's one of the female CEOs that I really look up to, just because of the way she runs her business, the way she runs her empire, and also the way that she runs her family. Like, it's something that I aspire to be one day, because I think she's amazing. But I don't think I've ever seen her refer to herself as a girl boss.
Yeah, I don't think if you went to any of the females that are in, executive level positions in the Fortune 5,000, that any of them would refer to themselves in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So ladies, stop doing it. If you want to run a serious business, then you need to take yourself seriously, and girl boss is not the way to do it.
Yeah. And you got to chop wood and carry water. You got to do all that mundane stuff that makes a business work. And it's back to that Inc. 5000 quote that, when we first had started the DPS back in the day, and we were at that party, and that was the great quote in the magazine that, everyone looks at you and says, you're riding the lion. How, and then as the entrepreneur, as the CEO, you're saying, how the fuck did I get on this lion, and how do I get off? Like, it's such a different experience. And part of that is that, mundane, unsexy stuff that you have to do, dealing with, payroll and taxes and making sure you're filling out the volumes of data that you need to do within a county, like you're paying B-poll taxes and you're doing all these other minutia that exists.
Or even just dealing with people. We work together in the same space. So you have your office, there's a table in there. He's got a standing desk. I'm over working on here, and I hear him in the background on some of these calls, and there are literally people screaming at you.
Yeah.
And the difference between him and I is that he sits there and you're just so stoic, and you're allowing this berating to go on. And it's not like it's somebody you couldn't fire in a heartbeat or get rid of, but it's just, it blows my mind at some of the shit you have to deal with as a CEO. And like, everybody's like, oh, nobody's going to yell at your CEO. But you would be surprised.
Yeah, it happens more often than you think.
It happens more often than you think, but just your ability to kind of just take it, sit there, smile, and then come up with something constructive, like that blows my mind. I cannot do that. And I think that's why we work well together, is because in anything, if we're somewhere and something is happening that is wrong, like for instance, one of my bracelets broke and it was brand new and they were charging us to get it fixed. And my husband was getting ready to pay the fee. And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm the one that goes off and like, I'll burn this shit down before I pay for this fee for a ridiculously expensive bracelet. But I think that's how we work, right? I'm the fire, you're the ice. Like,
yeah. Except when it comes to the kids, like that I have infinite patience for the work-related, craziness. But the kids know exactly what buttons to push to get me over the edge. That and my parents are the only two that can, like, within 5 seconds, have me yelling.
And that's kind of a perfect segue. Like, moving on to our next subject, our children, we're currently on a digital detox. And I read an article earlier this week from The Atlantic, and it was titled "End the Phone-Based Childhood Now." And I'm reading directly from the article right now. The environment in which kids grow up today is hostile to human development. So that means that we have a generation of children that were raised on iPhones.
Yeah,
and
iPads,
they're video games, and Gen Z, it's all carrying over into their adulthood.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was an eye-opening study, or the data that they have, and I've summarized some of it here. It was kind of crazy that, one that didn't strike me as odd is the rate of depression and anxiety. It's up 50%. From 2010 to 2019 among adolescents. And I think that wasn't super surprising to me because, we've watched a lot of the same Netflix documentaries. And I think social media, my perspective is it's terrible for human development. And in the beginning, maybe it was a way in which we could communicate.
A great way to stay connected.
Yeah, exactly. I think we were sold a bill of goods. It's really a great way to harvest our data and sell it and, control us and be in front of something minute by minute in which we could be selectively and targetedly marketed to sell stuff so that we can, buy shit we don't need with money we don't have.
To impress people we don't like.
Yeah, exactly. And that, the other data here, the, suicide rate was up 48% for adolescents ages 10 to 19 during that same period. And girls, specifically girls, 10 to 14 rose by 131%.
Which is, it's insane because you think about it, we have 3 girls.
Yeah.
And me as an adult female, I have a hard time being able to parse out what's real, what's not on social media in order to protect my my mental health. But if you're 16 years old and you haven't been taught those coping skills or haven't been taught the ability to figure out what's bullshit and what's real on social media, like, how are you supposed to take this information and feel good about yourself? Like, it's really scary. And you hear a lot of the Silicon Valley parents, they do not allow their children social media access. They don't have Pinterest. They don't have Instagram. They don't have Facebook. And there's a reason for it.
Yeah, that article had some amazing stats that they've collected with, regards to how long the kids are using these technologies and how many hours per day they're on social media, like 5 hours per day on average between YouTube and TikTok. And that some of the other stuff was pretty nebulous when it's like, oh, the reported amount of disabilities like ADHD. I think that's just an overprescribed and overdiagnosed disorder. because it's easier to medicate a child than it is to actually parent.
Or take away their screen.
Well, that I agree. Like I'm telling you, that's hard. Like getting long car rides, we do long car rides, and being able to be on a long car ride with no iPads. It's, I don't know how my parents did it. I guess they were just, they were belligerent and screamed at me a lot, but maybe that's just the way parenting's got to change a bit here. But, the other parts of the article, which struck me more, was not like free range parenting, but the fact that we've changed in how we parent. Somewhere in the early 2000s, where we started to transition away from letting kids go out in neighborhoods and just play until the streetlights came on, which taught a lot of emotional and social coping skills in which you had to learn to interact with people in your neighborhood, may or may not look just like you. But you have to be able to solve problems. You have to be able to work together as a team and do things without the constant supervision of a parent.
It taught them that independence, right? Yeah. You were independent and you were kind of in charge of yourself, which was really cool. I mean, I was 12 years old and I was running the streets and it was awesome.
I don't think it was that awesome.
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, and I was a latchkey kid. I'm the generation of the latchkey kid. So, no, I mean, I think it was good. And I think it taught you a lot of responsibility. And now I look at all the shit I did and I'm like, I could not imagine letting my kids, I'd be fearful if I let them out. They would do the same shit I did. Like our oldest is 17 and I'm like, I thank God every day that she wasn't half of what I was at 16, 15.
But and I think this article also pointed to the declining of play and the declining of independence. So we took away our 8-year-old's iPad.
And our 6-year-old.
And no access to the television. You're not watching TV. We have, and it's not like they don't have a plethora of things to get into, but Maddox, the 8-year-old, he was so mad he left the house. He's like, I'm leaving. I'm running away and I'm going to go to the TV store. And he went outside and he was out there messing around for probably 30 minutes. And then he comes back in. I was like, I thought you were running away. He's like, I couldn't figure out where the TV store was and I don't have any money. So I'm back. Right?
I'm broke.
He said he's broke. I'm broke. But I think it's just a testament that we did the right thing, because instead of being on his iPad for 30 minutes, he went outside, and they've been outside and they've been shooting basketball and they've just been playing. Like they need to be bored. It is so important for children to be bored, because that's when they get creative. That's when their brain develops. So
yeah, I think it carries over like the other parts of that study, which I think actually, ironically enough, I was listening to NPR this morning and they were talking about some of the same statistics about how I think the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation released a study, or they funded a study that was released talking about how there are less and less people being born. And part of that is relates to this article where it's talked about how then whatever the fuck they are now. I don't know. Z alpha, whatever.
I think it's Z.
But they're less interested in sex. They're less interested in getting married, less interested in having kids. And when you extrapolate that for a generation, right, you get less people, and then one generation will half the population, and then you quarter it by the next generation. And it's just an incredible shrinking of the workforce of tomorrow, and as well as those that are going to take care of the elderly now. And I think there are some, countries around the world, like China, for example, that are experiencing this problem now, or they're facing it or starting to face it with, the population loss that's coming and the aging of the workforce, the aging of the population. And, I think a lot of it has to do with, or at least the article here poses that a lot of it is social media and technology, that now the fact that IRL is a thing and people are like, oh, you friends? Well, we're not friends IRL. We're friends.
Yeah.
And you're like, the fuck does that mean? You're either friends or you're not friends. Like, this in real life shit is crazy.
It's crazy. And I mean, it's good for adults, right? Because I've met a good amount of people in the Northern Virginia area from social media. And then when we finally meet in person, we're like, oh, and we feel like we've known each other forever, which I think that's cool. But when you look at it from a 15-year-old standpoint, they have more fake friends than they have real friends. And that's scary.
Yeah. And you grew up, though, understanding how social dynamics work, understanding how to interact with people and have conflict resolution, and, the importance of, real life conversations and dealing with people. And I think when, this generation of folks that are not IRL friends, they don't need to go out and interact. They don't feel the urge to sit down and talk to someone face to face or confide in someone or share thoughts and beliefs and experiences with them. And that leads to, the decoupling, like not wanting to have sex, not wanting to have a marriage, not wanting to have children. And, since when, and I think I don't know if this article did it, but it was another one I was reading, talks about like it is completely normal now for Gen Zers to go to college, come back, and they just live at home with their parents.
Yeah.
And to like 30. And I couldn't imagine like myself, like as a Gen Xer, going to college that was it. You were done. When you didn't come home, but you didn't go back home. If you did, it's like, what the fuck's that guy do? He's still living home with his mom. Like, who wants to date a guy that's still living at home with his mom? But like Gen Zers is like, oh, that's fine.
It's completely normal. But we're making sure to beat it into our children's head. Like, once you hit 18, you're off the payroll. You are off the payroll. You are going to college. You're going to get a job if you have to, or you're going to play sports. And if you play sports in college, then okay, we'll fund you a little bit, but yeah, you're off the payroll.
We'll see how that works. I think it sounds great in theory. We'll see if we can actually stick to it.
It sounds great in theory. I think we've done a good job at raising a 17-year-old to be able to have conversations. And I think that's why we host events at our house. Whenever we do, she's usually around because she doesn't go out. She doesn't like to go to parties. She doesn't like to go drink with whatever other 16, 17, 18-year-olds are doing. So she'll stay at home and she'll hang out and she'll talk to adults. And one of the comments that I always get is that people will look at me and they'll be like, wow, she's able to hold a conversation. She's really nice to talk to. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're doing something right, because at least she's not sitting there with her head in her screen and looking off and not able to really carry a conversation with somebody over the age of 30. It's really refreshing to see her be able to carry herself in such a way that she's confident and she's able to articulate what's going through her brain at that moment. I think we've done a great job.
Yeah, I think
so far.
Yeah, so far. Don't jinx it. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
But I think the pivotal part for her too, it kind of relates to the study a bit, was, when she went to sleepaway camp, and then two, when she started doing travel volleyball, where she was going places by herself, where it would be her rooming with three other girls in a hotel room. She had to pack her own suitcase. She had to get herself up at the right time. They had all their technology taken away from them when they went to bed. And, there was one or two chaperones per floor, but she had to interact with people, forced to interact with parents and coaches and teammates, and take care of herself. And to your earlier point, that independence, right? She had to be independent. She had to take care of herself. And I think that blossomed her tremendously, because before that, she was a hormonal preteen that just sat in her room, and it's binary. It's like our 12-year-old now.
Yeah,
it's very binary. It's either crying or angry. There's almost no other.
There's no in between. There's very little in between from the age of like 12 to 14.
Yeah.
It's either she's emotional and like just crying, or she's just really pissed off at everybody.
Yeah, there's very little, moments of happiness.
It's almost, it's jarring.
Yeah.
It's like whiplash. We were sitting on the couch and we were like, where's Michaela? She's our 12-year-old. And George is like, she's upstairs. I'm like, well, she needs to get ready to go to volleyball. He's like, you go get her. I'm like, no, you go get her. Like, we're afraid of our 12-year-old's emotions right now because we're not sure which one we're going to get. But okay. And we actually talked about this on the elevator on the way up. The difference between financial advice for men versus financial advice that you see for women. And I played what was it, Instagram? It was Reel. It was a Reel I saw on Instagram. And the woman said that you need to strip if you want to become a millionaire. And at first, like, come on.
Grab your attention. I want to be provocative.
The S was for
savings.
Ooh.
That's my one big hiccup of all these. We talk about all the time. Like, the financial advice there's no new financial advice, right? And people are packaging up the same bullshit 100 different ways. It's the same advice you've been given since you were in elementary or middle school. Hopefully you got some of it, but it's the Susie Ormans of the world, all these, it's the basics. If you don't know the basics, then our educational system is failing. You shouldn't have to have some influencer / beauty consultant tell you that you need to save money, and you need to have an emergency fund. Oh, and you need to take advantage of your 401k. Oh, and you need to.
Right. So the S was for savings. The T was for.
I don't know.
What was
the T?
What was the T?
I don't remember.
It must not have.
It wasn't great.
The R was for retirement.
Yeah.
Right?
Get your 401ks and IRAs. All right. Everyone's been told that a billion times.
The I
was for income.
So you have to make money.
Yeah.
Novel.
Yeah. But that was the one thing I did like that she said about income. And that's the opposite of the Susie Orman or the Dave Ramsey or any of these guys, where it's don't buy that $4 cup of Starbucks. That's going to make you a millionaire.
Right.
No, it's not.
Right.
It's going to save you $4 a day, maybe. But you're going to make coffee at home, and coffee at home isn't free, right? Coffee beans. I have no freaking clue how much coffee beans cost, but if you do your unit cost methodology of the water and the electricity to run it, and then the coffee bean, it's not a $4. It's not 100% savings. Sure, it's a dramatically lower cost per cup, but is that satisfaction for $3 worth it? Probably.
Right. If your $4 pumpkin spice latte like makes you so happy, then drink the fucking latte.
Yeah. And I saw that somewhere too. The difference between highly compensated individuals or wealthy individuals and non is that most of the time we don't look for ways to cut minutia expenses. I mean, sure, I'd love to do it every once in a while just to make sure you're having good fiscal responsibility and you're not spending good money after bad for things you don't use.
I.e. our 17-year-old's DoorDash habit is one that we had to get under control.
Exactly. But, you got to, if you want better things and you want nicer things and you want things, you got to make more money. So you got to find ways to make more income, which is either, you go ask for that raise, or you find a skill set or hone a skill set that pays more, or I hate the side hustle terminology, but you find different ways of different multiple income streams that are not tied together, not based on your labor.
Which, if you're a creative person and you have like a marketable skill, honestly, take your skills to Fiverr. I can't tell you, and this is not an ad, I use Fiverr so much for a lot of the different parts of our business, whether it is content creation or podcast editing. Like Fiverr's amazing. So if you have like an actual skill, like you're a great writer, you're great at copyright, you're great at editing, go to Fiverr. And that's a great way to like just make some side cash. I pay for skills. Like I know what skill I don't have, and I know what skill I need to go find, and I'm really good at finding it.
Yeah, no, it's good. I've never used Fiverr in my life. Never even heard of it. So.
FIVERR.com.
Nice.
There's a lot of R's there. It's either 2 or 3 R's.
The pirate.
But what was the last one? The last one was P. P was for
plan. I think something like a plan.
Was it something
have
like
a plan.
planning? Like have a plan. Which great, great. Have a plan. But what's in your plan? 3-year plan?
Yeah.
5-year plan?
Yeah.
7-year plan?
Yeah, it's got to be actionable, quantifiable, measurable.
What's our plan?
Well, we have lots of them.
No. Like, how far in advance can you plan with me?
Oh, maybe a couple of weeks.
No. You're full of crap. I think I'm good for like a solid 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, we normally have a 5-year plan, a 3-year plan, and then what we're doing for the year. We set, a yearly budget meeting at the beginning of the year of what we want to get accomplished this year.
I'm great at budgeting.
Yeah, not at all. What do we want, our net worth to look like at the end of the year? Is it going to be a growth year? Is it going to be a tread water year? Is it going to be,
a recession?
No one looks for a recession in their own personal net worth. So I've never planned for that yet. But sitting down and understanding where do I want to be in 5 years, where do I want to be in 3 years, and the 3 and the 5 year are going to change. And your year should be what you can actually accomplish this year, and it should feed into your 3 and 5 year plan. And if not, if you do your retrospective and the year didn't go according to plan, maybe you have to adjust the 3 year, maybe adjust the 5 year, but it's always should be trending in the direction in which you want to go. So sometimes you have to reinvest. Like it's a tread water year. We're gonna, transitioning, starting a new business, doing those things, and that's the other thing. Back to the first topic today about starting a new business is a lot of people think I'm going to start a new business and I'm not going to miss a paycheck, or I'm going to start a new business and my income level is going to be the same as it is when I'm a W-2. And that maybe for some people that works out and that's great, but for most people it's a step backwards.
Usually, if it's your first business, you're treading water for probably a good 6 months before you actually start making some real income.
Yeah. So you got to be able to withstand that. You have to go without a paycheck for several months. And that goes back to the savings, having, savings or having, cash available or liquid assets that you can use to fund the beginning of the business.
But like, here's the thing, financial advice for women. I saw something. It was like, oh, here's five ways you can save money. And then shortly after I saw something for men. It was like, here's 5 really hot stocks that you can go invest in. Why do I have to cut out my lattes, but you get to go invest in stocks and have fun? Like,
yeah, I don't know.
I think we need to change that.
Yeah. I don't know if financial well-being and fiscal advice has a gender.
It shouldn't.
Yeah.
It shouldn't.
Money doesn't have a gender, in case you're wondering.
I know. Money loves me, for the record.
Does it?
It does.
I don't know. I think money runs away from you.
But I think we're trying to teach our girls, like, they need to know how to invest. They need to know about compounding interest. They need to know.
Yeah. That's why we started Finance Fridays.
Finance Fridays.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we torture our kids and teach them about stocks and investing.
Yeah. And that was the one thing when we did that during COVID, we started Finance Fridays. And depending on the ages of your children, right, you have to make it 5 to 10 minutes max, right, in one topic, maybe 2 topics at most. And what I found putting that stuff together was there is a desert of information for kids. Like, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, the best videos I found were from like the, Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah, from when I was in middle school.
Like, that's the best videos out there. I mean, people are making some YouTube stuff, but didn't find it valuable. But the Schoolhouse Rock stuff was actually pretty good. And
right,
my son's
I'm Just a Bill.
Yeah,
on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, but they did one about investing and bartering and how money came about and started with the barter system. And our kids still sing that. That's called the barter system.
Yeah, it was really cute.
They understand it. Yeah, and invest is best. What to do with the money and take it to the bank and invest is best. And then doing some live action things about compounding interest. Like, they remembered that. And then going through passive versus active income, and then debt and compounding debt and how credit cards work. Like, all those things are easy to explain, but it's shocking. Like, at that point, Ava was what? The 14, 15, and like didn't understand how a credit card worked.
Yeah. Today, I don't know if she does today.
Well, it works for her. She's like, I just put the number in and stuff comes to my door. But they at least understand the principle of interest and how it works. The credit card is just a promise to pay it. Like, hey, I'm putting it on this credit card, which means I promise to pay the credit card company this money for that thing. And if not, then I'm going to pay interest. And interest is, a double-edged sword. It's great when the banks and other people are paying you interest. It's terrible when you go the other way. And it's, teaching them the difference, like interest-bearing high yield savings accounts, a little known secret that all high net worth individuals do. But yeah, like maybe at the height, you're getting 6%, but credit card companies, even for good credit folks, is probably what, 18, 20%?
I don't know. We don't pay interest.
I know, but I'm just saying it works tremendously in the other way.
Absolutely.
Like, you're not going to get rich from savings accounts and CDs, but you're definitely going to get poor from credit cards. Like, it's not set up for your success. I think there's lots of books out there, but yeah, Tim Robbins, and I read is it Tim Robbins? I don't think that's right.
No, it's not.
Who's the guy?
Tim Robbins is a dude with the really big hands.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The guru.
Yeah.
Right? I read a Flipbook article, go figure, he had talked about the 3 things that wealthy people do to make money that other people don't. And that was probably one of the more honest ones that I've seen.
And what was it? What were the 3 things?
I can't remember all 3, but one of them was
hold on.
Investing in private equity, which is 100% true. And he was talking about how he invests in private equity and that there are private equity funds out there, and it's becoming more of a commodity asset now where there are more, like crowdsourced, private equity things you can become a part of. And then the other was around venture capital, kind of the same thing, being able to put money into venture capital funds to make money. Like those are things that get alpha returns in the market outside of like a high yield savings account, right? Like you're not going to accumulate wealth that way.
Okay, but let's say you're making $50,000 a year. What would be your like end all be all start here if you want to grow your net worth?
Yeah, you got to invest.
$50K a year.
$50K. I mean, there's two things, either real estate
or let's say $60,000 to make the math easy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, real estate is always one. I like real estate. I've always have. I think, buying real estate, especially if you're young.
You can't make more land.
Yep. And living in it and then renting it out and buying another one and, using those years while you're renting to accumulate enough for a down payment to buy the next one. And
so that would be where you start.
That's where I would start there. And I would
That's where I started.
Yeah. And also investing. You got to open up an investment account, even if it's a small amount of money, and try to contribute to it religiously, like, $100 a month or $1,000 a month. You just put the money in there and letting that compounding interest work in your favor.
What was the best stock that you bought?
Apple.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think going through.
What year did you buy it? 2007.
Oh, no, it was probably earlier than that. It was probably like 2000.
Was it?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've had it for a while, but just buy a low cost, index fund. I think Warren Buffett has great advice there. It was like, unless that's your business, like, stocks and you understand, how to read a PE ratio and you understand about it. Then
what's a PE ratio?
The price per earnings.
Okay.
So it's going through it. But if you don't know how to do that and that's not your game, just get a no cost index fund. Like, I think there's, VFIX, there's a couple of them in there that you can buy with, no fees, and they just track the S&P 500. And the S&P 500 historically has returned over the last, 30, 40 years, 9%,
was it
average?
7 to 10.
Yeah. So, 7 to 10 is the rule of 72. So you just take whatever the percentage is divided by 72, and that's how many years it'll take to double your money. And you just keep doing it. Right. And same with your 401k, you put money in it. Oh, shocker. But, take advantage of it. And the real estate portfolio, and the biggest thing is you're not going to get immediate returns. And everyone wants to get rich quick plan. And maybe some people do in real estate. If you take big swings, you can have home runs, but you can also have big misses, right? And end up liable or
big
be
risk,
underwater on assets. But buying like the townhouses or the condos, and then making sure that when you rent it out, you're covering the nut, right? That you're covering your mortgage payment, you're covering incidentals, you're covering lack of rental income when it's vacant, and your taxes, and making sure. And there's some great spreadsheets out there online that have that all built out for you. You can fill in the information and it'll tell you your IRR is. And
what's IRR?
Internal rate of return.
Okay.
And it'll also tell you what.
And we'll link all this in the show notes.
Yeah. And it'll tell you what, the long-term investment will be. So one, you're going to earn equity as the house appreciates, and also as you pay down principal, but then also, there should become a point where an inflection point where your rent is exceeding your expenses.
Yes.
That may not be in the first year. That's fine. That's fine. Right. But in 5 years, it could be. And at that point, you're pocketing cash and you've paid down principal, and hopefully the house has been appreciated and it's accretive to your portfolio. Yes. So those are things that
they're not sexy.
They're not. But it's time will win.
Yeah. It's not sexy. I mean, I bought my first property when I was 19, and that house doubled. We rented it and then we sold it. So
yeah, I think we've done that formula probably 10 times.
Probably, yeah. We've done it a lot. So, I mean, it works.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go.
That's it.
Number one, you buy real estate
and invest. Yep. And like we talked about before, if you have valuable skills, keep honing those skills and turn it into ways in which you can make money.
Go to Fiverr.
Yeah, Fiverr. All right.
You've been listening to Married to the Startup. These two crazy people have spent over a decade juggling 5 kids and multiple startups and discussing everything from the boardroom to the bedroom. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at Married to the Startup. And be sure to hit the website at www.marriedtothestartup.com. Take it easy, and we'll see you next time.